for this roundtable on AI and mediation. So we are waiting for a few more minutes. So for the other participants also to join and to get the full benefit out of this webinar. So before we begin, I would like to ask the question icebreaker. At which stage are we in leveraging AI in mediation? The options are early, mid journey, and advanced. Audience, you can take the poll. We have 30 seconds to answer the poll. Okay. The answer is fluctuating between early, mid journey. Now it's also between advanced. Okay. Can we share the. No, still participants are taking. Okay, now we can share the results. So it is 64% opted for early, 27% opted for mid journey, and 27% opted for advanced. So, and here we are towards the roundtable discussion on AI and mediation. With that, let's get into the session. Welcome. I once again welcome all of you to this roundtable on AI and mediation. We are delighted to have all of you joining for this important and interesting discussion. Next slide, Abhay. So this roundtable is organized by YCM, and we also thank a supporting partner, GD Goenka University, for partnering with us for this roundtable. Next slide, Abhay. Okay. I would like to introduce our expert speakers for today's roundtable. I would like to welcome Colin Rule. Mr. Rule is a globally recognized leader in online dispute resolution and the integration of technology in mediation. As the CEO of Mediate.com and Arbitrate.com, he has played a pivotal role in advancing digital dispute resolution. Previously, Mr. Rule has led ODR initiatives at eBay and PayPal, pioneering large-scale online conflict resolution systems. With over 25 years of experience as a mediator, trainer, and consultant, he has been at the forefront of leveraging AI and technology. We welcome you, Colin, once again. Thanks for
Thank
joining.
you. Very happy to be here.
Yeah. We'd like to welcome Michael Lardy. Mr. Lardy is a distinguished mediation expert with a strong focus on the ethical and legal dimensions of artificial intelligence in dispute resolution. With over 11 years of experience in international mediation, he has significantly contributed to thought leadership on AI's implications for fairness, impartiality, and trust in mediation. His work emphasizes the importance of balancing technological efficiency with ethical considerations, ensuring AI complements rather than replaces human judgment. In addition to his practical experience, Mr. Lardy is currently pursuing his research degree at the University of Salzburg, further enhancing his expertise in the legal aspects of mediation and AI. We welcome you, Lardy, once again.
Thank you. I'm glad to be with you, and thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. We'd like to welcome Ms. Chittu Nagarajan. Now, Ms. Nagarajan is a pioneer in online dispute resolution. She is also a wonderful expert friend of YCM. With over 2 decades of experience, Ms. Nagarajan has co-founded Modria.com and Odia.com, leading innovations in technology-driven dispute resolution. She also founded Odia World and Odia India, bringing Odia services to India. Previously, she led eBay and PayPal's community codes, spearheading scalable dispute resolution systems. With over 20 years of experience in online dispute resolution and mediation, Ms. Nagarajan is a fellow at the National Center for Technology and Dispute Resolution and has been a keynote speaker, evaluator, and thought leader at global ODR events. We are excited to welcome you once again, Chitu ma'am.
Great to be at YCM yet again. Always look forward
Yes,
to
ma'am.
meeting everyone. Thanks a ton, Kudrat. Thanks a ton, YCM, for inviting me.
Thank you, ma'am. We would like to welcome the moderator of today's session, Ms. Kudrat Dev. Ms. Kudrat Dev is the founder and lead trainer at YCM. She is a tech lawyer working on AI governance frameworks and ethical challenges, and a trained AI governance professional. With 11 plus years of diverse experience in India and London, she has worked with leading dispute resolution firms and mediation organizations. She is a British Chevening scholar, a certified conflict coach, and a mediator. We welcome you once again, Ms. Kudrat.
Thank you so much, Faiza. It's an honor to moderate this panel of experts. So, a very big thank you to all of you for making the time, especially to call in despite the time zone differences.
Yes. Next slide, Abhay. With that, I would like to hand over the session to Kudrat Dev. Over to you, Kudrat.
Great. So before we get into AI and mediation, it again gives me immense pleasure to acknowledge and celebrate the work of students. And this time they have created something phenomenal called the Solution Series. And I want to acknowledge the entire student team here. So it would be great if you could, just let us know that you're already here. Special thanks to Harshita, Urvi, and all the actors who've created Solution Series to spread awareness about mediation and the process in a very fun way. There are 4 episodes where the mediator called Miss Resolvi navigates different conflicts from living rooms to boardrooms. And it is officially live, these series, on YouTube. Soon it will be a podcast on Spotify as well if you prefer to listen over watch. But for now, I hand over to Faiza to officially play the 1-minute trailer and teaser to give you an insight on what will these mediation solution series look like.
Thank you, Kudrat. With that, we are going to watch the teaser now. Stay tuned.
Thank you. Can we please have a round of applause for all the students who put in the effort of putting this series together?
Very good.
Watching the
Great
trailer.
stuff. Great stuff.
Super. Great. With that, we've been waiting to understand why are we here today, what will we discuss today, AI and mediation. And before we get into the nuances of how AI and mediation work together. Faiza, can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah, there are just some statistics that team YCM has put together for you all to reflect and have the big picture of what is happening when it comes to AI in the world. So if we move to the next slide, AI investment amount, tech giants are projected to invest approximately USD 320 billion in AI development by 2025. How much of it will be towards ODR and mediation platforms? Time will tell. AI generated images, Gen AI with ChatGPT, we know we had that milestone in 2022. As on date, 71% of social media images are now AI generated. Trust in AI, this is my personal favorite. And a lot of our audience is based out of India today. Acceptance is high in India, 77%. China, 72%. And low in America, around 32%. And finally, recently in the World Economic Forum, AI was a hot topic for discussion. And AI is a top core skill with increasing focus as per the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report. But how do we narrow down and think about examples within AI and mediation? If we could move to the next slide, just two quick examples. First, recently, a mediator was in a situation helping two parties in a conflict navigate their conflict and to arrive at a situation, at a solution. And here the mediator asked the disputants, their lawyers and their clients, if they would agree to accept ChatGPT's number if they reached an impasse. Yeah. And both the parties agreed. Again, shows a trend of how people are trusting GPT. There's an automation bias, tech bias, but is that the full picture? In Feb 2025, the US Federal Trade Commission made its ruling final, where it said a robotic AI lawyer has been making deceptive claims about its abilities as to how it can replace human lawyers. Will this also apply to AI mediators? Is there going to be a time that we're going to have AI robotic mediators completely replacing or at least claiming to have the abilities of AI mediators? With that, I would like to start this discussion with our first question to Colin. So can we stop sharing the screen, please? And can we please spotlight all the experts? Great. Okay. Colin, we would love to hear your views on how is AI transforming mediation platforms. What do you see happening across the globe?
Well, thank you so much for having me this morning. And it is a very, very exciting time in the field to see all of these tools emerging in the mediator's toolbox. So I will say artificial intelligence is transforming every industry, not just the legal sector and not just dispute resolution. And I think those of us in the dispute resolution field may have some misgivings about how AI is being used. But it's not the practitioners that are driving this change. It's really the parties. And a lot of people who are in the middle of a mediation will go to ChatGPT on their own initiative and say, well, here's the outline of my case. What do you think a fair resolution to this might be? We're finding that widespread access to artificial intelligence is transforming the preferences of the parties themselves, because they often don't know what is the value of their case. So even if the mediator might have some misgivings about bringing artificial intelligence into the mediation room, the parties do not share that hesitation. And oftentimes they will show up to a mediation with ChatGPT generated or Gemini generated or Claude generated information in hand. So it is important that we rethink the mediation process to learn how we can leverage these powerful tools in the toolbox. I know Chitu and I have worked very, very closely on building the online dispute resolution field together over many years. And one of the key ideas we have in online dispute resolution is something called the fourth party, which was a concept that was introduced by Ethan Katch and Janet Rifkin almost 25 years ago. So the fourth party is the idea that technology has a seat at the mediation table, kind of like the parties. So if party one and party two are the disputants, and party three is the human neutral, it could be a mediator, it could be an arbitrator, it could be an ombudsperson, it could be a coach. Technology is the fourth party. And that doesn't mean that AI takes over the process, becomes the judge, or becomes the mediator. Instead, the human neutral, the third party, and technology, the fourth party, have to learn to partner together. And the way that we currently think about how AI can best be used in a mediation process is for the fourth party to be kind of an assistant to the third party. And the third party still runs the process, manages communication between the parties, kind of keeps things on track. But the fourth party is a very active and capable assistant that may do more administrative tasks like sending out notifications or managing documents or generating draft settlements, but always under the supervision of the third party. Now, the scenario that you shared at the beginning of our presentation is very interesting, because obviously mediators are often trained to not evaluate the case. The role of a mediator is to assist the negotiation between the parties. So a good mediator does not come in and immediately say, okay, I know what the outcome should be in this case. You should do this or you should do that. And the reason why we train mediators to behave that way is because if they evaluate the case, oftentimes that will compromise their neutrality with the parties, because their evaluation may be more in favor of party A or more in favor of party B. So by putting your opinion on the table as a mediator right off the bat, you may be compromising your effectiveness in helping the parties, in assisting their negotiation. So it's actually, we do have evaluative mediation, but you have to be very careful about how the mediator can share that evaluation. But obviously, the fourth party plays a very different role in the process than the third party. And the disputants themselves may say, well, we want to know what the algorithm thinks a fair resolution would be. And if the algorithm says, well, we think, for instance, in your simulation, it should be 275,000, that should be the resolution. Well, the parties can ignore that if they want to, because the fourth party doesn't have any feelings that will be hurt. So it might be that there are some capabilities that the fourth party has in the mediation process that the third party doesn't have. And we have to learn sort of the new capabilities and also some of the ethical challenges of the use of AI in the mediation room, so that we can understand the best relationship between the third and fourth party. So there's no question that artificial intelligence is going to be a huge asset to us in trying to expand access to justice, make mediation more effective, help our parties envision the ZOPA, the zone of potential agreement in the case. But there are some real ethical and practice challenges that come from the introduction of AI into the room. And that's why Chitu and I have been very active in putting together this organization called ICODER, the International Council for Online Dispute Resolution. And you can see the ethical standards from ICODER at icodr.org. And there's a lot of ethical guidelines and standards for using technology and dispute resolution processes to make sure that the process is still neutral, transparent, fair, and accessible, even when you start to use these very powerful technology tools. So I think for everyone on this call with YCM, it's a very exciting time to be a young person, to be a student. We are building a new justice system powered by this technology that's going to be able to provide fast and fair resolutions to people, many of whom didn't have access to justice before because it just took too long or it was too difficult for them to find a fair solution. And now we're going to be able to utilize these tools at scale to get people access to justice, access to resolutions. But it's not a simple thing. We can't just wave a magic wand and deliver fairness. We're going to have to figure out how to utilize these tools and put guardrails in place to ensure that the systems that we build with AI are ethical and truly impartial and fair so that people can get justice. So that's my first attempt at an answer, and I'll leave it there, and I'm interested to hear what my fellow panelists think.
Super. Thank you so much, Colin. And I love this sort of foundational setting of the fourth party, looking at technology as the fourth party and what role and capabilities can that fourth party bring to the mediation process. And you already hinted on ethical challenges and the work that you've done to sort of deal with this challenge. And there is my next question to you. What do you think is the biggest challenge with trying to integrate AI into mediation processes and platforms, and what would be the biggest advantage?
Well, there are many, many advantages to the use of AI. We are using artificial intelligence. For instance, we built a solution using AI to assign panelists, assign mediators and arbitrators to individual cases. So when a disputing party comes in and explains the nature of the dispute they're experiencing, well, you may have thousands of potential neutrals that can take that case. How do you match the right neutral to the right case? Well, you can use artificial intelligence to interpret the information that's provided by the complainant and then look at all of the bios of all of those neutrals and then score them and say, these are the neutrals who are the best fit for this individual case. That's a powerful way to use AI to improve the quality and neutrality of a process. You might even look for conflicts of interest and use AI to do that and screen out certain neutrals if they might have a conflict. So AI can help with that. AI can be used to actually nudge the parties in the direction of more productive communication. So when somebody types a message into a dispute resolution process, and that message could be interpreted as maybe a little threatening or a little insulting, technology can do sentiment analysis. AI can read it and say, look, before you send this message to the other side, we think this might be interpreted as kind of an aggressive message, and the other side might not react very well. Here's a redrafting of your message. It takes out some of the edge, or you can redraft it yourself, and think about it before you submit it. That kind of AI reframing of communication can be very, very powerful and help keep negotiations on the rails. And then obviously, AI can look at cases. It doesn't necessarily have to evaluate and say to the parties, we think that this is the right solution, but it can say, look, for this kind of dispute, there may be many kinds of solutions, and here are some possibilities. So if you have a dispute between neighbors over a barking dog, AI can say, here are 20 possible solutions to that problem. And I think the parties can look through those suggested solutions and say, well, these 10 are not relevant to us. These 5 are kind of interesting. These 3 are quite interesting. And these 2 are actually perfect. And say to the other side, well, what do you think about these 2 solutions? And that may help the parties steer towards an effective outcome. So there are many, many different ways that artificial intelligence can make the process more effective. And I think we do have to worry about bias in the data. If you train an artificial intelligence machine learning algorithm on data that has bias against one certain type of party or one certain type of case, then it will be affected by that bias and the recommendations that it makes. So it's very important that we have ethical standards and we monitor these AIs and test them to make sure that they are free of bias, and then make necessary adjustments to de-bias the algorithms where appropriate. And that's something that we haven't done before. It's very difficult to de-bias a person, but there are a lot of well-documented techniques for de-biasing an algorithm. And I do believe that soon, not even, I often say the next generation, but it may be even be within 5 or 10 years, people will prefer algorithms to help them resolve their disputes because the algorithms will be more free from bias than human-powered dispute resolution processes. So again, the humans will always have a role. The third party is not going anywhere, but the fourth party is getting smarter and smarter, and the culture is changing, and parties are more open to the role of algorithms in their dispute resolution processes. So we're going to see a lot of change over the coming years as these algorithms become more powerful and absorb more information. But we just have to make sure we put the ethical guardrails in place to ensure that the AIs are helping us achieve our objective of fast and fair resolutions with transparency, security, accessibility, and confidentiality.
Super, great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now talking a little bit more about the third party. How do you think is the third party, the mediator, integrating AI into their practices, or are existing mediators really getting trained with AI on the basis of your network, Colin? And you're a part of so many mediators communities, and would love to hear what is your feel. How are mediators integrating AI into their practice? What is the pickup and trend? And do they really need to integrate AI into their practice right now? Or is it too soon?
Well, yeah, I'm interested to hear the opinions of my fellow practitioners, but we are seeing an enormous amount of innovation. The saying we have in Silicon Valley, where I live, is that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. So we already see some path-breaking applications of AI technology in mediation. One platform that Chitu and I have seen several demos of is called Next Level Mediation, and it's integrated in an AI assistant to the platform. So the mediator can ask questions of the AI assistant at any time, and the AI assistant has total visibility into all the information shared in the mediation. So one of the things the AI assistant can do is generate visuals, graphics that may help the parties understand the contours of their dispute. So you can say, okay, AI, generate a timeline of this case, or generate a mind map of all the key questions that have to be answered in this case, or generate a diagram that shows the offers that have been made in this case, and the likely BATNAs, WATNAs, and ZOPAs, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement and the worst alternative to a negotiated agreement, and the likely zone of potential agreement. And AI can do a very good job generating a lot of this information. Now, again, that information is generated and provided to the mediator, the third party, and the third party decides what to share with the individual disputants. So there are a lot of exciting innovations taking place right now. I will say also the American Arbitration Association, which is the parent organization, the largest dispute resolution organization in the world, is the parent of ODR.com, where Chitu and I work. And they are using tools that essentially assist arbitrators and mediators in looking through enormous amounts of evidence and summarizing evidence. You may have a complicated commercial mediation with 1,000 or 2,000 pieces of evidence, and it's enormously time consuming for the mediator to go and look through all of this information and keep track of it. But the AI assistant, the fourth party, can read all of this information, synthesize it, generate timelines, generate summaries, and it can be very, very helpful to the neutral. And if they have a question, when did this happen, or who provided this information, immediately the fourth party can provide the answer and then highlight the section of all the evidence that provides the clarity that the neutral provides. So a lot of the information, a lot of the assistance from AI coming is around efficiency, and it's around clarity, and it's around synthesizing information. But also there's the ability to help parties envision what a good solution to their dispute might be. And oftentimes I know when I mediate, that's a challenge. One party may come in saying, I want to get paid $10,000. And the other party comes in and says, well, I want to pay $5,000. And there's such a gulf between the parties, it's almost impossible to get them to common ground. Whereas artificial intelligence working with the parties in advance of the negotiation can set some frames and expectations so the parties come in and they're much closer. So I think that's a summary of sort of what I'm seeing on the ground these days.
Super, great. So from assisting to becoming creative and a more active participant, even on the merits of the dispute, that's how we see the role of AI. That's sort of the spectrum.
That's a good summary. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Colin. And with that, I move to our second expert on the panel today, Michael Ladi. But before that, we have a poll question for the audience, and I also invite all the expert panelists to participate in this poll question. You should see it on your screen in a couple of seconds. What do you think? Yes. Thank you, Faiza. What do you think is the most significant role of AI in modern mediation? Enhancing mediation platforms and case management, improving efficiency through automation and data insights. AI has limited impact on mediation, learning from ODR to refine AI integration. Five seconds more for all of you all to reply. There are the results. As expected, 77% voted for improving efficiency through automation and data insights. So with that, Michael, we would love to hear from you. What do you think? Can an AI mediator replace a human mediator? Maybe not today, maybe in the future, but do you think that's possible?
Okay, yes, I come back to this question at the end of that, what I have prepared to tell you today. First of all, it's absolutely fascinating to be part of this round table, especially hearing what Colin said. And I already hear that there's a very different way to approach AI in mediation in the different countries. In the US, they are absolutely open to do that. In India, I know that mediation is very important, but I cannot estimate how much mediators and clients in India are open and interested for using AI. So yes, because I come back to this a little bit later, but in Europe, I see that mediators and clients are have a very limited interest to use AI. So for coming back a little bit to the theme, how AI can be used in mediation, I just want to highlight in the beginning the core competences of AI, which are the basis for how to use AI in mediations. And maybe you have the first slide I have prepared.
Yes.
No, or the second slide. Yes, absolutely. Perfect. Thanks. Yes, because first of all, it's important to see that AI systems are highly language skilled. So if you consider the work of a mediator, language is the most important tool of a mediator. A mediator must be a kind of master of language, and AI is exactly that too. It's a master of language. It can formulate very well, and it can ask very precise questions. So these abilities can be used by mediators in a variety of ways. For example, to consult an AI, what Colin already proposed. So I will present some example of that later. The second competence, which is very important, is that the AI is very empathetic. And I'm curious to know how you see that in India and in the States, but in Europe, in Austria and Germany, mediators and clients don't like that when I speak about the empathy of an AI. But over the past 2 years, there have been several scientific studies that have been conducted, and they had tested AIs using psychological assessments. And the result was that in these tests, AIs demonstrated absolutely more empathy than humans did. Of course, this is a simulated empathy, since computers, of course, have no feelings, but this simulated empathy is absolutely sufficient to understand human behaviors, what is necessary in the mediation process. And third, AIs have a very good understanding of interpersonal relationships. The ability to empathize and the understanding of interpersonal dynamics are not so surprising if you consider that AI was trained on massive amounts on text, including a great number of novels. Novels essentially consist of description of human relationships and involved emotions. So for LLMs, novels are a kind of treasure chest for learning about human feelings and relationships. And so you can see these three competences are very useful and can be used in the mediation work. So how, in a concrete way, LLMs can be used in mediation? Please come to the next slide. Perfect, thanks. You can, as a mediator, plan the first contact with a client. The first contact with a client between a mediator and the client is absolutely crucial for the success of the mediation. And this is often underestimated. So with the help of the AI, a mediator can plan the perfect first contact, practice it, make a role play with it, get a real-time feedback from the AI, and then implement these suggestions for improvement. Same is for the first mediation session. In the same way, the AI can be used for plan it, for making a role play, and for getting feedback from the AI and improve this first mediation session. So the mediators can, especially who are beginning with mediations, can use these platforms for preparing this first mediation sessions very good. A very interesting field is to prepare a mediation session in itself. So to use an AI as an experienced advisor. You can keep in mind that AI has access to enormous amounts of training data and therefore draws from a vast experience. So you can, for example, perform a case analysis with AI, describe the case and especially the people involved, including their character traits, and the AI can then provide you with assessments, suggestions for the next steps, and help you practice formulating specific questions. You can also use the AI to integrate suggestions into mediation simulations. So my own experience, as well as reports from other mediators, shows that discussing a case with a competent AI often leads to new ideas that the mediator would not have come up with alone. Another field is to make a brainstorming, a digital brainstorming. You can select a specific aspect of this case, of the conflict, and do a digital brainstorming that brings to new ideas too. Especially interesting field are the mediation simulations. They are complex and demanding and they are very exciting use case for AI. And they place high demands on the AI used. You cannot use every AI. I use ChatGPT in the advanced mode generally. And the AI needs a large memory to take all these details of a case into account and to give you good advice. And therefore, it's really important to choose the correct one, the competent one. So in a simulated couple simulation, by example, the AI can alternate between the roles of the two spouses, while the human acts as a mediator. So it's important to assign personality traits to each client in this simulation and to make the simulation as realistic as possible. What is very interesting too is in the training of new mediators, there you can do a lot of communication exercises with an AI. but we have not the time to describe this now in detail. But it's for the training of new mediators, AI is extremely helpful too. So I have deliberately limited the use of AI to preparing a mediation session, contrary at that what maybe in the States is already possible. Because I think it would be certainly possible to include AI during a live mediation as an advisor. But however, in Germany and Austria, there is no willingness for the moment to do so, neither from the mediator side nor from the clients. And I'm curious and I'm always interested to hear how it's happening in other countries. Colin said already something to that. So, and another problem in Europe is for legal reasons, you are very limited to use AI if you use personal data. So I come to one of the last questions is, what is the biggest question you asked me? What is the biggest challenge in the collaboration between AI and humans in mediation? And I think it's especially important that mediators who use AI in mediation work with it intensively so they can develop a sense of what this AI can do and where are the limits. This is very important because AI systems are evolving at a mind-blowing speed and are constantly gaining new capabilities. And additionally, as they are extremely skilled in language, it becomes a challenge sometimes to uncover the true competence of an AI behind the eloquent phrasing. So the evaluation of AIs by mediators often is swinging between overestimation, this is the so-called ELISA effect, which is an old effect, and underestimation due to a lack of experience. So a somewhat realistic assessment is best achieved through regular use of AI. We should not underestimate how new this technology still is, even now, 2.5 years after the release of ChatGPT 3.5 in November 22. And I think we still lack the benchmarks and standards how to best work with it. And considering the question, can mediators be replaced by AI? As of today, I think no. And that's the reason I have voted for, we are in the early stage on your first question you had today. At least not with the AIs which are currently available to the public. And I think this is a question of culture, but we should also ask, would anyone even want that? And this is a Europe view of the things. I think in the States, it seems to be different. But I don't know if clients would be willing to resolve their conflicts with a talking computer system. I believe that not currently. And the last vote you did, I was a little bit surprised that the point number 1, that AI can be helpful in improving online dispute resolution platforms. I think especially there, AI can be extremely helpful in the future and now. And so I was a little bit surprised that not more participants voted for the point number 1, but okay. So in principle, I think it could become possible that once an AI can be a very good autonomous mediator. My impression is that the Nobel laureate Geoffrey Hinton might be a little bit right in his view that humans are not as unique as we like to believe. So I think AI systems, after appropriate training and fine-tuning, but this is really a view in the future, not in the next year, can draw AIs can draw an immense experience, far more than any human can ever have. So if I look really in the future, I'm not sure that maybe in not too complicated cases, AIs could once resolve a conflict per itself. So I think I'm already asked 2 questions you want to ask me, but if you have further, please ask, of course.
Super. Thank you so much, Michael. It's really insightful to know what's happening in Europe, where you come from, where trust or reliance on AI in mediation is maybe limited for mediators in the preparation phase and not so much for the parties to use it as a creative brainstorming tool or a fourth voice, so to say, during the mediation process. So it's insightful to know that. And today, yes, AI is not replacing human mediators. In the future, maybe for less complicated cases, as you say, and of course, yes, we will see. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. And with that, we have some questions for Chitu ma'am, but before that, let's do a poll question again. Please participate in this poll question. It's a segue to our final theme today. What is the biggest ethical or legal challenge in AI-driven mediation? Your options are AI bias and fairness in decision making, transparency and explainability of AI processes, legal and regulatory uncertainties, data privacy and security concerns. Five seconds more to put in your vote. %67% today has voted for data privacy and security concerns, followed by legal and regulatory uncertainties. Thank you for sharing your views via this poll. With that, Chitu ma'am, we would love to hear from you. What do you think we can do to ensure fairness in AI-assisted mediation?
Yeah. So thanks again for having me here. First of all, I think, I love the way Colin mentioned about, what's happening in the US, especially, and, the work which you're doing and the way it's going at such a speed. And then, we heard Michael coming from Europe, and he mentioned about, yes, we have all of this, but, how much are they using it, right? Or still, I think the resistance to use it. So what we are seeing in the spectrum itself, even in India, we have and India, we always talk about digital divide. I'm going to talk about AI divide, I think, now, because all of us are like, if you look at the generation in India, you have a lot of people using AI, and without knowing they're using AI, especially on WhatsApp. We have it all over WhatsApp right now. And whatever you type now on WhatsApp, you have AI, helping you to type that or asking a question. So we are in it, right? And that divide, I think, is just narrowing and narrowing in India. And, people might not even know it. So we have all of this, which is happening, and AI is taking over. You have different spectrums. But when you're talking about ethical, ethical fairness, or what's happening in the dispute resolution field as such, so we are narrowing it down to that, right? I still feel when you're talking about AI, especially in mediation, it is still being very exclusive. Who is going to use, AI in mediation right now? It is only certain sections of the people, right? And when you're talking about dispute resolution, especially, when we talk about ODR, we want it to be access to justice. Mm-hmm. So if we are talking about access to justice, it means delivering, fast and fair resolutions to all sections of the society. and not just being exclusive. Of course, AI is a magic wand. How do we use that magic wand? What should we be aware? And how is it going to help in this entire dispute resolution sphere? Mediation itself is quite difficult for people to really understand, and bringing AI into the mix, you have a lot of things which are in store. And I'm talking more, coming from India, I think, and where we are, it's easier to explain it to people, as I said, in the United States. Europe is there, and then you have India on the other side. So you have this entire spectrum. So we all are using it, but there's a lot of concern of how do you use it. So let's say, as you said, we go into ChatGPT, and again, being exclusive, certain people can go. Language is not a barrier right now, because anybody who knows how to read and write in any language can use it, which is excellent. I think AI is actually broken that language barrier. Before, it was only, if you knew English, you could do certain things. But now, in any vernacular language, you can just go and use it, and you will get your answer. So yes, information is coming to you. You know what to do with it. You can get more informed. But the other whole thing about data, security, bias, fairness, ethical, and in mediation, what is important is, I, as a mediator, when I come in, I need to let the parties know, how to use AI. So let's say one party is using AI and the other party is not using AI, for instance, or does not know how to use AI. Is that also a disadvantage, right? And I think Colin mentioned it, that, I was just going to say that in mediation, we are not supposed to be evaluated. So when we are going in and, all of these things are coming in and it's facilitated, again, the question comes up. Let's say parties come up with something which is given by ChatGPT and they come in, but I, as a mediator, I know that it's wrong. What am I going to do? Okay, that's a big question, right? What am I going to do? Can I tell, no, this is not, right? Am I allowed to do that? We've not actually looked at all of those questions, which I think it's going to break the way we traditionally do mediation. In mediation, we do not suggest, we let the parties choose what they want. And that's quite dangerous when AI is telling you something and that attracts me. And I'm saying that, yeah, I want that, right? So is that right? Is that fair? Is that good for you? But mediation is all about what you want. So I think, there are a lot of things which we are faced with when we introduce AI, and, when it comes to ethics. Ethics and what is it that we can do, what is it that we cannot do. And this magic is very interesting, but the power it gives you is good, but how do we balance that power? What is it that we can do to educate? So that's why I feel that it's left up to providers. And I'm not talking about AI providers. I'm talking about dispute resolution providers. We come from an online dispute resolution background. We develop platforms. So what should we do? We are the ones who are supposed to come up with those ethics built into the system, keeping the parties aware of what they will do if they use the AI tool, building the models so that the models are not biased, are not being unfair, will help the parties, will help the mediators, rather than using these open, generative AI tools, right? It is a source of information, but how much can we believe? So when it's left up to people who are building, and we have a lot of people over here, and we are always looking for very innovative platforms. We were in a space where we developed ODR platforms, but I think there's so much more that we need in the space of innovation in the dispute resolution field, where you're building these platforms, these models, which will be fair, which can take things which are legal, and take things which are geographic specific as well. So I think that is the most important thing which I think we need to take into consideration. And building it into the platforms is the best way to resolve it right now. We might think about AI regulation, law, all of that, but at the end, it is left up to us providers to make sure that the interests of parties, interests of the mediators is all protected. So I think that's the best way to go about it currently.
I love it, the approach. Let's just go to the root of everything. Let's have an AI model which is fair. Let's do what it can take to ensure that, so that the outcomes or the results wherever this AI model is used in assisting mediation is also fair. Great. And also sort of that ownership and responsibility that, it lies with the providers to ensure that, of course, with the support of all relevant stakeholders. I think that sounds like a great holistic approach. And there, assuming, Chitu ma'am, that, AI models, providers have done their bit to ensure the fairness exists, but there still might be cases where there are unfair outcomes in AI-assisted mediations, or there are errors. How do we handle those, and who should be responsible for that?
So I think, again, it's, we are learning, right? We are learning. And it's going very fast. I don't know how much we can cope with AI, right? It's just going at a super speed that we are unable to cope. Humans are unable to cope. So what do we do at what stage? How can we bring it? And what do we look at? So that's all quite difficult right now. And for us to just learn from those errors and just to say, okay, fine, this is happening, how do we address that? What do we do at the next stage? I think that is important. And also, when these outcomes, enforcing these outcomes, if it's all AI generated, also is going to be difficult, right? How will we enforce these outcomes? I think for a long time, everybody was just asking us, how will you enforce ODR outcomes? ODR outcomes was so easy to enforce. How are you going to enforce AI outcomes? And I don't hear anyone asking that anymore. When we were initially, everybody was like, oh, enforcement of ODR, how is it going to work? You're going to use technology, but now it's all like, we are using it. We want to do it, right? So I think many things are going to come up, but the good thing is people are prepared. They want to do it. That's a big difference from where we were when we started off with online dispute resolution, where we had a lot of resistance, but that is not there anymore. Everybody wants to jump into it. Everybody is like, yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, we're using AI. Oh, we are doing this. So that is easier because there's a lot of acceptance. There's a lot of people want to be in it. So which is a great thing. So I think more and more, we will have more people coming into it. And that also is exciting, right? Because it's not just a niche area, and more people can get involved into different sections of, how do we resolve these particular issues.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And with that, I open the floor for questions to our experts. So please put your questions in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand and address it to our panel of experts.
So one question from my side. This is Suresh.
Please go ahead.
So far, do we have any AI agents specific to this mediation process, or which are integrated with any of the ODR platforms?
I can respond to that. There's a lot of talk about agentic AI in the US, and I have not seen anyone apply agent-based AI to dispute resolution. So Suresh, you're asking a great question. There's a huge area of possible innovation there. There are some companies that are creating agent-based lawyers, like Do Not Pay, where you can log in and get an agent and provide it all of your information, and it will go off and try and get you a resolution, usually on simple types of cases, like a parking ticket or a claim to the government. It will make phone calls, it'll send out emails and try and get a resolution. And when it does get a resolution, it will come back to you and say, hey, I got this resolution. Is this good enough? And you can say, yep, that looks good. Write it up. Or nope, that's not good enough. Go keep trying. But that's more on the legal side. It's less on the mediation side. So there's a lot of innovation to come when we have more powerful agents and when we get to AGI, artificial general intelligence. So that's going to be equally disruptive, if not more disruptive, than what we've seen in sort of the chat-based AI interfaces so far. So great question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Colin, for answering that. Yes, Subhash, I see your hand raised. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, my question is to Chittu ma'am. Madam, during your discussion, you have said AI is capable of giving you number of results, a number of alternatives and suggestions. Now, mediator has already made up a mind and liked a particular suggestion, but the mediator cannot select that and implement that. So, will it not amount to underutilization of AI capabilities?
So is it underutilization of AI capabilities or doing your job as a mediator? I think we should just, I'm just, putting that question out again, saying that, is it this or is it that? So, instead of the solutions being put to the mediator, I would love if the parties, have those solutions because, we do reality testing, we do brainstorming, and the mediator can, utilize AI for that to drive the parties towards that. And for the parties themselves to, look at the solutions and look at certain things which are coming out from reality testing questions, and then if the parties can make a decision based on that, that's better instead of the mediator driving it. So definitely utilizing it is good, but driving the parties to utilize it, even though his prompts or his or her prompts might generate that, but pushing it to the parties to do the same, to generate that and go that route would be better.
Madam,
Yes, Michael has a response to that. Yeah.
Yes,
question.
Okay, I'm just a little bit curious because how is the role of the mediator in India? Because in Europe, the standard role of a mediator is not to give to make propositions or to give an advice. But I know that in different countries, this concept of mediator is defined in a different way. So how is it in India? Can a mediator make proposition, or is he more passive and just organizing the discussions between the two clients?
Any of the participants? Do you want to answer that question? Participants?
I saw an answer in chat.
Yeah, I think in India it is a more of facilitative in nature rather than evaluative or transformative. Unless the parties in that specific situation wanted otherwise.
Okay.
Great. Subhash, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Madam, one more thing. As regards our ODR platform, can it be made mediator be allowed to make suggestions with the consent of the parties? Right now, mediators are not allowed to they give their suggestions, but considering the issue and under being consideration, if our ODR platform with the consent of the parties only permits mediator to make a suggestion which will work out for the better results.
So what I suggest in India is, because we have mediation and conciliation, I always say when you want to make a suggestion, go through the conciliation route and, bring it as a conciliation, because in India that's allowed. And then you can go, towards that route. But so in India, it is possible where, we can bring it as conciliation and, change the process to a conciliation process.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll say in the United States, and I think this was previously mentioned, we have facilitated mediation, transformative mediation, and evaluative mediation. And we even have MEDARB, where the mediator can become an arbitrator and provide a non-binding evaluation or even a binding evaluation. And all of that is okay so long as it's completely transparent to the parties. Because if the mediator is going to become an evaluator, the parties need to know that in advance, because they might not say things during the mediation process They might change the way they represent their perspectives if they know that the mediator may eventually become an arbitrator, because they can factor in those negotiation communications to their decision. The cleaner way to do it is for the mediator to come in and be facilitative, and then when the parties say they want an evaluation, to bring in a new neutral who didn't hear any of the negotiation communication, so that they can start an evaluative process from a clean sheet of paper. But sometimes the parties, and it could be a non-binding evaluation, and there is a protocol through which a mediator can say, well, if you ask me for my sense of what a fair resolution would be, I think it's this. But I think that's the exception that proves the rule. I think it's much more effective for mediators to be purely facilitative. And if people want an evaluative process, they can end the mediation and then start a new evaluative process. And I think from an ethical perspective, it's cleaner that way.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Colin, for answering that. And to all the experts, I know there are still many questions, some of them coming directly to the ICM team in the Zoom chat. What we'll try to do is collate those questions and get in touch with the experts and get back to you with the responses, but also being slightly mindful of the time here today. So a big thank you to Colin, Chittu ma'am, and Michael for making time for this webinar on AI and mediation. We would love to do another one maybe after some months, and we have already new things to say about AI and mediation and the developments there. But until we meet again, do remember, no matter what it is, you can resolve it. Thank you so much.
Before we sign off, we need to take a picture with the experts and the panel, all of them.
Sure. Please go ahead, Faiza.
Yeah, I request all the participants to please turn on your cameras because you're running late. Yeah, I think Harshita, you can go ahead and take the picture. Thumbs up, all of you. 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
We could get one more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done. Thank you. Thank you, participants, and thank you, experts.
Thanks, everyone. Wonderful being
Thank
here.
you, everyone.
Definitely.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, great. Pooja, Faiza, are you all here? I think Abhay has left. Can you request Abhay to join back?
I think we are still, YouTube is live.